Hey guys, I'm Jonas. Today we're going to be talking about what kind of fuel you should be running in your handheld power equipment. So I get asked quite a bit that since it's becoming harder to find non-ethanol fuel, what kind of fuel should we be running in these small engines? The fuel that you buy at the pump today, most of it has ethanol in it, and these little engines just weren't designed to handle that amount of ethanol. Most of the manufacturers are working on improving their carburetors, gaskets, the materials that are being affected by the ethanol. They're trying to improve those so that these engines can handle more amounts of ethanol. But if you have a small engine like this that's very old at all, chances are it just wasn't designed to handle that, and the ethanol will eat up the gaskets and stuff inside of your carburetor. It'll eat up fuel lines and can cause a lot of running issues with these little engines. So I want to talk about a couple of different fuel options that you can look into. If you have a gas station close to you that offers a premium like a 91 or a 93 octane that doesn't have any ethanol in it, that can be a very good option. Just using a small gas can, a 1 to 2.5 gallon gas can, and go fill it up, and then adding your premix oil to it is a very cheap, efficient way of being able to get good fuel to run in your small engines. If you don't have a non-ethanol fuel available to you, you could still run fuel with up to 10% ethanol, but add some different fuel additives to it to be able to combat the effects that ethanol is going to have on these small engines. Using something like the Stabil Marine 360 that has some different additives in it that'll help fight those issues. If that's the route that you want to go, you'll want to pick up a good small gas can that seals up well. You do not want a gas can that doesn't seal and is going to be venting all the time, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. So there are some good options available for these small gas cans that do seal up very well. I like using the no spill cans, which those are available from a 1 gallon up to 5 gallons. They also have the SureFill cans, which those are a really slick setup. They have a hose that comes off of the bottom of them, and so you don't have to pick the whole can up while you're trying to fill your machine up. The drawback to those is the smallest one that you can get is a 2.2 gallon. Well, that's really too much fuel for just the average homeowner to be running in their trimmer and blowers throughout the season. You don't want to buy any more fuel at one time than you have to. So generally just buy 1 gallon and get burned through that and then go refill again. You don't want to go buy a whole bunch of fuel and then take several months to get burned through all that fuel, as that fuel is going bad on you over that time period. But when you're filling up your fuel can at the pump, only fill it up to the full line. So if you have a 1 gallon can, only put 1 gallon of fuel in it. If you fill it all the way up as full as it can go, you're going to have more than a gallon in there. Well, that becomes an issue when you go to add your oil to it. Most of the oil, the premixes that you're going to buy, come in a bottle that is designed to be mixed with an exact amount of fuel. So if you buy a bottle for 1 gallon of fuel, but your can has more than a gallon, it's going to end up throwing your ratio off. So instead of a 50-to-1, you may end up with a 60-to-1. So that's going to make your machine run too lean. There's a lot of different companies out there that make premix oil. Almost every name brand manufacturer of handheld power equipment has their own branded oil bottles. Most of them are going to be pretty decent, but I'll leave some links down below for some that I recommend. So if you have a pump that you can get 91 or 93 octane from, and you go fill your can up, you add your premix oil to it, you're also going to want to add the fuel stabilizer to it. Whether it has ethanol in it or not, you're going to want to use something like the Stabil Original or the Marine 360 that is going to stabilize that fuel and keep it from going bad on you. The smaller of amount of fuel that you have in a container, the faster that it goes bad. As I said earlier, you also want to make sure that your container is well sealed, and there's 2 reasons behind that. If your container can let moisture in, if you have any ethanol in that fuel, ethanol absorbs moisture. So it's going to suck that humidity out of the air and put it in your tank, and you're going to end up with water in your fuel. The other reason is if your container isn't sealed up well, your fuel will evaporate. And when you have oil pre-mixed in with that fuel and then some of the fuel evaporates, that changes your mixture ratio. So you're going to go from like a 50-to-1 down to a 40-to-1 or a 30-to-1 as that fuel keeps evaporating out of there, but the oil can't evaporate. So your mix just becomes richer and richer, and then your machine ends up running too rich, and that causes running issues. And it's also going to plug up the screen on your exhaust. And we're going to have a video coming out real quick on how to clean and check that exhaust screen. So if you don't have access to a good quality pump fuel, another good option that you can look into is the canned fuels. So these are fuel that come in a can that's already pre-mixed as a 50-to-1 or a 40-to-1, and they're typically a 91 to a 95 octane, so they're a premium fuel with no ethanol in it, and they have fuel stabilizer in them. So most of these cans have a shelf life unopened of anywhere from 2 to 5 years, and then once they're opened, it's usually a 1 to 2 year shelf life. Now there is a noticeable difference in how well your equipment runs with this higher quality fuel. It's just a better grade of fuel, higher octane, and your machine is going to run better. It's going to start easier, and then when you store it for the winter and get it back out in the spring, there shouldn't be any reasons that you have a fuel-related issue when you're getting your machine up and going for the spring. Now there again, almost all the major manufacturers have their own brand of canned premixed fuel. And a lot of them are probably going to be made at the same factory, and they just put different labels on them. So you just need to look and see what's available to you. You can buy these canned fuels off of Amazon or eBay, and I'll leave some links down below for that. But really, shipping becomes a pretty big issue when you're trying to ship fuel. You know, that's a very flammable liquid. So shipping ends up costing quite a bit. So a lot of times it's going to be cheaper to buy a canned fuel like this from a local dealer. So you need to go around and see if any of your local dealers keep some fuel like this in stock. Now it's still going to be pretty expensive even buying it from your local dealer. But when you really start comparing pricing, if you go buy a gallon of premium fuel from the gas station and you buy a bottle of premix oil and you buy your bottle of fuel stabilizer, you're going to end up spending, $6 to $7 or so, depending on your current fuel prices, to even mix up 1 gallon of fuel. When you're looking at buying these cans of fuel, that's about what a quart is going to cost you. Now you can buy it in bigger quantities, in gallons, 5 gallons, 55-gallon drums, and it does get cheaper buying it in bigger quantities, but there again, you really don't want to buy a bunch of fuel and just have it sitting around. You want to try to keep it fresher. There are a lot of dealers around that are starting to buy this premixed fuel in bigger quantities. They'll buy 55-gallon drums of it or 250-gallon totes of it, and just have it there at the dealership, and they'll allow customers to bring in their own gas cans, and they'll just fill the gas can up out of their big drum and sell it to you by the gallon. Well, that helps significantly cut down on the cost of that fuel because you're not paying for the can itself. Now, you would just need to check in with your local dealer to see if that's a service that they offer or would consider offering in the future. While buying fuel in a can like this is more expensive, it can be a good alternative if you don't have good pump gas available for you, or if you just don't go through that much fuel in a season. Fuel in the can is definitely going to have a longer shelf life than any fuel that you're going to buy at the pump. It's just a better quality fuel. So you know when you dump it in your equipment that it's going to perform properly and be easy to start and help you not have any long-term running issues. For me personally, I use both of these options. I have my bigger fuel can that I use in my trimmers and my blowers because I go through a decent amount of fuel and I have access to some good quality fuel. But on my chainsaw, I only use my chainsaw once or twice a year. So I really want to keep a better quality fuel in that so that I don't have to worry about that fuel going bad. So that's where the canned fuel really fits in well. You can also take this 1 quart and drop it right into the case with my chainsaw. So I've got my fuel and my bar oil, my extra chains, my tools, everything that I need in this 1 case. So if I need to go trim some trees, all I have to do is grab this case and go, and I've got everything that I need to run my chainsaw. So I'm going to leave some links in the description down below for some of these products that I've got here, as well as some other ones that I would highly recommend using that I think is going to be a good product for you. So if you guys check out those links, that really helps my channel out a lot. If you guys got some good value out of this video, please hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.